Okay, back with Unit 3, Video 10. And as you can see, we do not have our usual stupid drawing up there of the machine. Today, what we're going to be talking about is the creation of modern social institutions. We have a very, very brief history lesson. Uh, like basically 4 terms. I have to throw 2 on there that are going to change us from tradition into progress and from group order into individual freedom. But that'll happen in just a moment. We have 3 big points in this video. First of all, the 2 big cultural changes that are going to happen roughly around 1500. It's not like 1500 everybody woke up and did these 2 things. But if we look backwards from 1500, what we see is societies that are generally oriented toward tradition and generally care more about group order than about individual freedom. If we look to today, and I'm going to make the argument that things start roughly around 1500, we don't believe in tradition as much as we believe in progress, and we don't believe in group order as much as we believe in individual freedom. So first point will be those 2 big cultural changes. Second point will be how those 2 big cultural changes influence what's happening in social institutions. So we're starting out, and it actually would be helpful for me to have the drawing up there right now. The changes that we're going to see are going to actually take place within the collective consciousness. But what's going to happen is those beliefs, because remember, those are beliefs that exist within people's minds, they're going to influence the way they pursue meeting their needs. So beliefs that start out that are in the collective consciousness are going to influence the shape of social institutions. So that'll be point 2. Point 3 are going to be 2 big problems that we have as a result of these changes. All right, first of all, so take you back to one of our earlier lectures when we talked about the reason 1500 is an important notional date for us. And it's that Columbus discovers North and South America. People in Europe had no idea North and South America were there, and all of a sudden they have this idea that, wait a minute, there's stuff that we don't know. At that point, we change from a society that looks backwards, because you look backwards if backwards is where the answers are. But North and South America illustrate to people, well, what was backwards over there apparently wasn't everything we needed to know. So we're going to start looking forward to the possibility that there's more stuff that we can learn. The name for this sort of cultural moment is the scientific revolution. So the scientific revolution changes are looking backwards to looking forwards. It gives people the idea that, okay, so wait a minute, we didn't have everything figured out. Not only do we not have things figured out, but if we were basing everything in ideas that turned out not to be correct, it's possible we could actually improve things by learning. This is something that you and I take for granted. It's worth just sort of dwelling for a moment on the fact that you and I would not have fit in the year 1400. For us to come and say, hey, the way you guys were doing things, maybe you should change it. Nobody would have seen the world that way. That was not part of the collective consciousness of societies in Europe. Everything was backwards looking. People wouldn't have said, hey, you know what, I think you're right. They would have looked at you like you were a freak. All right, so the scientific revolution, which leads to the idea of progress. That's our first big cultural change. And again, just to stress, even though we're talking about social institutions, or we will be, right now we're in the collective consciousness. This is a change in people's beliefs about existence, about how the world works and what we should be doing. So first off, we've got the idea of progress. Second off, and that technically starts a little bit before 1500, but the scientific revolution kind of kicks this into a higher gear, is the idea of what we're going to call Renaissance humanism. Now, it's called Renaissance. I'm calling it Renaissance humanism because that's what scholars call it. The main issue for us here is the idea of humanism, and specifically the idea that individual people matter. Again, it's hard for us to conceptualize this. I mean, if you watch a historical film that deals with life back before 1500, it's almost impossible for filmmakers to really get into the collective consciousness of the people who lived then. They didn't look at their lives as mattering the way we do. For me, my happiness, your happiness, the happiness of my family, all of those things matter. For most people who lived back before before Renaissance humanism spread, the idea of you focusing on your own individual happiness was foreign. Nobody conceptualized life in that way. The idea of Renaissance humanism, that then, and this is why it gets kickstarted by the scientific revolution, the scientific revolution is about progress. And if we can make progress with regard to the machinery that we make or how we go about our lives, it's possible that we could also make progress in individuals' lives, in the way an individual goes about their existence. And it's possible that we should think about individual happiness as being one of the goals. It had not been a goal, but why not? If we're making progress, why not on that front as well? For the issue that we're going to get to, the second point, the key idea here is that we are going to be focused on progress. So social institutions should be things that can be improved. And also, social institutions should serve individuals. They should be oriented toward an individual and an individual's freedom, not just toward what's good for the group, but what's good for any particular individual. That's a radical change. Okay, that's good, actually. I had planned on covering more in this video, but let's leave it there and do, instead of one long video, let's do 2 or 3 shorter ones. So the one main point now from this video is about the 2 cultural changes. In the next video, we will see how the idea of progress and the idea of individual freedom, how those things end up changing the patterned ways of meeting needs that existed in societies. So see you guys then.